Every update since 1.13 has been insanely good, and it's not something you want to miss out on. So today we're going to be going over every single update starting on September 20, 2017. This was after 1.12, but before 1.13, called the Better Together update. This merged all of the console, Switch, and mobile editions to become today's Bedrock edition. It was still separate from all the PC and computer editions, which were Java edition, but this was so that multiplayer was easier. And now that it was easier to connect with friends because of the two editions, Minecraft in general will be played more together, often making the amount of players rise. After the Better Together update, 1.13 released in July of 2018. This update took a while, but was definitely worth it because it completely changed everything in the water. We got all the fish, tropical, puffer, salmon, cod, you name it. Shipwrecks were added, which also had buried treasure maps, unlocking the chance to get Heart of the Sea. Minecraft also added underwater ruins, which had a chance to give buried treasure maps, and there were now coral reefs with hundreds of new variants of coral block. Turtles were introduced, which aren't really that useful today, and we got conduits, which are crafted from the Heart of the Sea I mentioned earlier. Conduits, if placed in the water with a certain shape of blocks around it, gives a conduit power, which is pretty much night vision, haste, and water breathing underwater to players within 100 blocks, allowing them to build. 1.13 was a great update, but 1.14 was even better, released on April 23rd, 2019. And unlike previous updates where players didn't think the wait was worth it, this update definitely met its standards. It changed the entire style of village houses, and we got new villager professions. Now there are a total of 13 village professions and 2, useless professions, and a new trading system in general came along with some villagers that made some better than others, and gave each villager a unique look and reason to trade with. We got pillager outposts, which also came with the pillager mob, and when there were pillagers near villagers, a raid would start, and by defeating it, the villagers would give discounts to players. Additionally, Minecraft added new mobs to the blocks and villages like cats and workstations like the smoker, smithing table, blast furnace, and so on. Finally, a bunch of blocks got retextured to the same textures that we have today. 1.15 came a while later and served mostly as bug fixes for people who were encountering issues because of the newly added Bedrock edition. But we also got the whole bee system with hives, bees, honeycomb blocks, and so much more with the bees. Now, I don't exactly know how the bee system works, but it has to do with something harvesting honeycomb and bottles to use those to craft different things. After 1.15, we got hands down the best one yet, the Nether update. In the overworld, the ruined portals were introduced. We got the blue biome, soul sand biome, red forest biome, and rocky lava biomes. All the nether mobs we have today, like the strider, piglin, hoglin, and an updated version of the zombie piglin, were added. Also, bastions were added, which came in 4 types, with the piglin brute as the mob in the structure. As for items, netherite, the blue and red nether wood types, and so much more came along in this update. 1.17 was the first part of the caves and cliffs update, which need to be split into 2 different parts because of how much it added and changed. In the first part, or 1.17, we got dripstone and lush caves, axolotls, and goats. We also got raw ores and raw blocks, which in my opinion doesn't make sense. Copper was seen for the first time in this update, same with deep slate, candles, and the skulk sensor. We got all the goat horns and the glow squid, which won the mob vote. Not too long after that, we got part 2 of the caves and cliffs update 1.18. This update didn't add too much, but completely changed how Minecraft world is generated. It made the world not surround the y-coordinate 60, but now having large mountains and dips in the terrain. We got mountain peaks, which the world height increased to 320 because of, and it went down to negative 64 for the insane cave systems that offered thousands of ores per cave. After the banger caves and cliffs updates, people had insane standards for 1.19 and onwards, and Minecraft didn't fail the players, or at least most of them, as we got the wild update. This update mainly added the deep, dark, and ancient city, and on the side, we got the mangrove biome. In the mangrove, we got frogs and allays, but I don't know where allays are found or what they're used for. The warden was finally introduced, being summoned by the player activating a shrieker. And despite how much Minecraft added, some players still didn't think they added enough and started calling the update the mild update instead of the wild update. And exactly a year later, Minecraft released the Trails and Tales update. This time, it introduced many blocks that were used for decoration, like the cherry and bamboo wood types, the chiseled bookshelf, and other things like the calibrated skulk sensor. We also got armor trims for the first time, which YouTubers went pretty insane with, and we got suspicious sand and gravel. This new concept was known as archaeology, where a player would have to craft a brush and find one of these 2 blocks, and dig through the blocks to find items like diamonds or pottery shards. At the time, this was the only way to get pottery shards, so players to explore the world a lot more. And a bit longer than a year later, we got the latest major update, the Tricky Trials. This update added the trial chambers, which introduced the breeze and bogged, a bunch of new copper blocks, trial and ominous keys, trial spawners, ominous bottles, and a bunch of game mechanics to the structure. If you were in survival, the spawners would activate, spawning waves of mobs, and upon defeating them, you would get loot, but most importantly, the trial keys. This could unlock the trial vaults, which there were usually 8 of in a trial chamber. These vaults usually give loot like iron, emeralds, and so on, but if you got lucky, you would get an ominous bottle, which if you drank it would make the waves of mobs harder depending on what level you drank. When you start Ominous Waves, the spawners give a chance to drop Ominous Keys, which could then be used to unlock the Ominous Vault. The Ominous Vault gives better loot than the Trial Vault, having the chance to give Notch Apples, Armor Trims, Diamonds, Banner Patterns, and best of all, the Heavy Core. The Heavy Core can be used to craft the Mace, and the Mace, well, I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but it was pretty much the strongest weapon at the time. And those were all the major updates since 1.13. Subscribe so you don't miss part 3, where I'll explain every drop since 1.21 and why they switched to this new style. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next video.